Yesterday, in my monologue, I was talking about the name and the birth certificate and the separation from who we really are, whether we're men or women, and this identity that we've been given, which belongs to the Crown Corporation, to control us, to make us think that we are this all capitals name on the bills that we get, on the invoices that we're given, on the contracts that we make. And I was trying desperately to put it into extremely layman's terms so that people could understand that they are not this corporate name, this all caps name, that they are in fact some form of spiritual being, a consciousness that's embodied in a flesh and bone body covered in skin in this strange environment we call the world. Whether it's all a hallucination or not, I can't tell you. Sometimes it feels like that. And I also mentioned about the corporations, how they are in fact just a concept, a dead entity. They are just a theory, if you like. They only exist on paper. They exist in the minds of people, but they are not real. The only way that these corporations can actually operate and send you a bill or provide you a service or do anything is by having men and women, that is, men and women who are made up of flesh and blood, as employees working and doing the stuff for them. And it seems to me that over the last 100 years, these corporations, these entities which have tiers of hierarchy from your CEOs down to whoever is the post boy or whatever, all these different people, the line managers and the HR department and the research and design department, whatever, they're all different people operating these corporations, that if everybody died all at once, the corporations could do nothing. But it's these employees who are doing stuff. But we've seen over the last 100 years, as I was trying to say there, that these corporations seem to buy up every small family-run business or put them out of business. We've seen it with things like the corner shops and the little grocery stores, that instead now of having many of those on our high streets, we have the same names, big supermarkets who have the sort of satellite versions of them, smaller stalls, convenience stores that are in every high street. Every high street now is fairly ubiquitous, is it not? They're all very the same bland names all over the place. That what we once had with these individual family-run, sole-trading businesses, one-man bands, they're all disappearing as the big corporations are taking over and running everything. These effective dead entities that are operated to extract as much money out of the men and women in the environment by tricking them to making them think that they are these all capital names, and these bills arrive. We've seen it with the council tax, in which again your name is in all capitals. These corporations seem to be run by a bunch of people who do not really have our best interests at heart. Very often they have a front that makes it look like, oh, this is all for your benefit. We'll help you. We'll take away that responsibility that you had, and we'll do this service for you. We'll make life very much easier for you. Now, I've been resistant to that pretty much all my life. I like to be responsible for the things that I do. I like to be able, for example, and I use this example quite a lot, that I don't have electric or gas as a means to cook. I have a wood-burning stove. I choose to do that because actually I enjoy cooking over a real fire. There's something primeval in that. I actually have to go and chop the wood that I have delivered. get the fire going, warm it up, and then with my ingredients, which I get from local farms, excuse me, I can cook and bring all the ingredients together. I don't rely on ready meals that I cook with electricity that somebody else is creating for me. I like to take back that responsibility for myself, because there's something very satisfying about knowing how to bring the ingredients of a meal together, but also to be able to warm it up or cook it using a very simple method of creating fire. But also for me, I love the fact that my woodman lives only 3 miles away, that he gathers the wood and he delivers it to me, and I pay him in money. And the money that I pay him stays in the local economy. It's his money then, and he can buy whatever he likes, whenever he likes, of course, but I haven't given it to a dead entity corporation. And I think that this gives me a certain amount of autonomy, because we've seen so many people now being told, well, unless you do this, we'll do that. And the more powers that we give away to these corporations who are there for our best interest and are trying to help us, the more actually we feel impotent and vulnerable, because they can switch things off. We've seen how the government, another corporation, a business, a for-profit business, is following the directive of the net zero agenda, the agenda that is based on the myth that the world is heating up thanks to man-made global warming. And because of that, everyone is supposed to believe this pseudoscience, and the net zero, where they're trying to get rid of the carbon all over the place, which is of course us, we're made of carbon, so that we have to have one source of energy, this so-called clean energy, which is electricity. And then they want to generate it using all sorts of different methods, which are a bit dubious at the best of times, such as solar panel. They're taking away the farm production so that we can no longer eat food, because farmers are being paid not to farm, so they can put solar panels out all over the place, or wind farms. And we know how unreliable both of those technologies are. But we're told we must have this electricity, so that then we end up with a corporation who is providing this electricity to us, and we're vulnerable, because if everything is electricity, then you have a monopoly of power, and somebody somewhere controls the knob, and they can turn your electricity supply off or on as they wish. Whereas having a diversity of different types of fuel, whether you want to have a little primus stove that runs on a bit of paraffin, or whether you want to have a wood-burning stove, or you want to have gas, or you want to have electricity, you've got that diversity of having, you can chop and change and do what you damn well like, rather than relying on this one source that the so-called kind, benevolent government, who is, of course, not kind, benevolent or anything, they're just there to try and extract as much money and control you as much as they possibly can, all through their gritted teeth and fake smiles, and pretending that they're on your side, take away all the powers. So I'm beginning to get to think that these corporations are becoming a liability now. They've overstepped what a corporation might have had some benefits for us in the past. They're taking over like big giant companies, as I mentioned before, taking away that diversity of the high street, in which you had all sorts of different types and wonderful businesses, which made travelling around the land very interesting. The bland nature of the high streets now, with the same old tired names, the same old people working in them who have no interest in the products they're selling. They've all become very much low-paid entities who are there acting almost robotically. And we've seen some of the supermarkets now trying to get rid of their staff altogether, and everything is in a digital environment. No longer can you go in and have a nice chat about the weather and, oh, isn't it a shame that they're doing the old chemtrails again today, and other ordinary everyday bits of conversation that you might have. No longer can you do that. The joy of travelling about and going to different parts of the country or other countries to sample different foodstuffs or to sample different cups of coffee or different products is all gone because we see these corporations. So what is the answer to this? The answer clearly is that all the time people acquiesce and work for these corporations and take jobs and get employed by these corporations, they're just continuing the life. But if people decided, do you know what, I'm not going to work for these corporations, I'm going to set up my own business, or our family is going to set up our own business, we're going to do simple things. If people were to withdraw their labour from the corporations, from the government even, from the councils, and just set up their own businesses so that men and women traded with other men and women, these corporations would collapse. They would fall down. The power they have over us would disappear. But because we've been fooled into thinking, oh, we must have a pension and we must have this protection and we can't do things on our own and we don't want to have to think and be creative and come up with an idea of a little business that other people might find beneficial, because these big corporations do something much larger and make their products much cheaper. They can import things from other parts of the world. Because of all of that, we've been led to believe that that's a benefit. But now we're seeing it's not a benefit. The uglification of England, the bland nature of the buildings, the same tired names all over the place. It seems that actually the corporations are not there for our benefit. They're able to decide our terms and conditions, and the HR departments, human resources, we have become a resource. No longer are they personnel that were there to really help us. And so perhaps the answer is to walk away from those corporations and to start our own businesses, our own little trading enterprises, and slowly but surely take back the high street, take back our pride, take back our responsibility, and work with other men and women, and not these big, tired, boring, ugly, nasty, greedy corporations that are simply dead entities trying to extract our lifeblood and energy.